Hello, everyone. This is Story Times, and this is about Carol, a young girl that was brought up in orphanage all of her life, going from one foster family to another until she got to the age of 18, where they gave her a check and kicked her out. But what can you do with $600 and no place to live in the streets of Atlanta? But this is her tale. When she got kicked out, they got her a job at a cardboard factory in Atlanta. It was going to take a month before she get her first paycheck. So what did she do? She had to live on the streets. That $600 exit pay that she got wouldn't be barely enough to feed her for the month. But she had seen others living on the streets. She had walked the streets of Atlanta from one foster home to another. She knew these streets, and she always used MARTA, the underground rapid transportation system, to get around Atlanta. But when they were building the subway system in Atlanta, there were workstations underground where people would come and start their day, and they would live in these little cubby holes. But after MARTA was completed, these cubby holes were empty. Even though they had a door and a lock on it, they were never locked. But Carol knew this because she had walked them going from one place to another, avoiding these people, that people, especially the gang of women. They called them freelancers. They walked the streets of Atlanta, picking up on whoever they could, harassing them for money, begging for this or that. That was just their style. Carol was one of their favorites. And she never had money, but they always seemed to trip her up, fall, knock on her, beat on her, whatever. So Carol knew that if she was going to survive the streets of Atlanta, she had to be a place where they didn't go. The freelancers, they just liked to roam around here and there. They didn't really learn much things. They just wanted to torment others. And they would steal somebody's purse, steal some man's wallet, kick the shit out of somebody. That's all they wanted. It was just for something to do. And Carol was part of that something to do. So in the subway, she found a place close to downtown where there was a workstation. And she went downtown and she got her pass going to MARTA. But what she did, she walked the rail. Now, they used what's called a fifth rail, which was an electrical water conduit that would run the full length of all the tracks in Atlanta. This underground, that's how the trams got started and how they went from one place to another. Carol knew not to step on that fifth wheel to avoid it at all. The fifth charge line, that fifth line, that's what she called it. I'm not sure what they called it. But it was a charge line and it was covered. As long as she didn't touch it, she was safe. So when she went downtown to the bottom of the MARTA there, she walked that line. She knew just less than 100 paces away from the east-west line that there was a workstation there. And she climbed up on the platform, and sure enough, it was unlocked. Remember, they don't use these workstations anymore because just not needed. Wasn't much in there, just an empty room, some old lockers and stuff like that. But Carol could feel safe in there. She closed the door. It had a light in there, always a light in there. She cut on the light, and there was a lock on the inside of the door, so she could lock it. Just simply push the bolt, and the door was locked. Nobody could come and go out of there. And it had its own venting system, so Carol could use this workstation on the underground MARTA system in Atlanta as her home. Didn't have water, didn't have a toilet. Well, that's all right. She knew how to make a chamber pot and to bring water down. And she could do that. She could even cook in there because it was vented. She couldn't make lots of stuff in there. I had a few outlets there where she could plug in an electric grill or a hot plate, make her something to eat. She even brought down a portable refrigerator where she could keep cold stuff. After 18, she still didn't like to drink, but she would bring down some beer. And she would bring down some milk and stuff that she could keep in there. And her favorite thing, since it was home of Coca-Cola, she brought home 6 packs of Coke all the time to keep in her little mini fridge. Then while she worked at the cardboard factory, she had time off. And her time off, she didn't want to spend down underground the whole time. So she went to Atlanta Library, Metropolitan Library. And she would spend her days in there. And that's one place freelancers didn't go, but she did. She did graduate from high school with straight A's, and she was great about reading. So she would spend her time in the Metropolitan Library reading books, any books, all books. She really liked fantasies, and she's read as many books as she possibly could until she came to the parts about Wicca, witchcraft, voodoo, and stuff like that. She found that very interesting. And she read this one dusty old book about voodoo and how to make somebody your personal slave. It took a little bit of doing, but Carol got a big chuckle and laugh at it. Because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to say a few hocus pocus type of words over the person as they're dying. Then you're supposed to piss on them right before they died or right after they died. It didn't matter. But either way, Carol, she enjoyed it. And Carol, on this one particular day, she left and she took the east west tram and she was going to get off at downtown. But as she went into the west side of the tunnel, there was that wicked girl from the freelancer. I think her name was Wanda. Wanda started following her down the tube. That's what Carol called it. And Carol knew that there's little walking ledges from one side to the other to where when the rail car come by, you could jump on those ledge and you stay out of the way of the subway car. You wouldn't get hurt. But Wanda didn't know this. Carol did. Wanda had seen Carol many times, wondered where she got off to. So she figured she'd follow her and find her hiding place. Carol checked her watch, and just about a certain time there was a tram coming through. Right around a bend in a curve, it was kind of blind, and if you didn't know what to do, it would get you. But Carol knew what to do. It was about that time for that subway to come through. And Carol took and jumped upon the ledge just as the car was coming through. Wanda didn't know this, but she saw the ledge, and when she jumped upon the ledge, she missed her step. Even though she fell underneath the subway car going by, she hit the third rail, the fifth rail, the electrical rail, and she was fried almost immediately. Carol could think of nothing but that voodoo thing. She went over to Wanda to check her out. Sure enough, she was about to die. So she said her few little magic words, and then she turned around and pissed on her. So take that coming after me. You should have known better. Carol took and she come out at the next exit, going to catch that tram returning and take it back home. She didn't think anything about it. Well, the tram come back through and saw Wanda laying there. And the tram car stopped and called in and said, "There's a body on the tracks here. There's a body on the tracks." Well, Carol didn't know this. And when she got out, she kind of figured something was up because the car didn't come back by. And the next car coming by didn't come through. So she just come out there and she got onto a bus and went on downtown. She didn't like to take the bus because sometimes the freelancers like to take the bus and harass people. But Carol was lucky. But Wanda, laying on the track, got picked up by the morgue. Took downtown and placed on a gurney there. Along about midnight, the morgue attendant wasn't paying any attention to what was going on. Wanda just laid on a gurney with a sheet up over her head. She'd already been pronounced dead. But something sparked. She sat up. She didn't know what she was doing. She just knew she had to find the one that owned her. And since she was already dead, bullets couldn't hurt her. Nothing could stop her. But she could transfer who she was from one person to another. All she had to do was bite them. Bite them. That's how her only defense was. So when she jumped off the gurney and she ran to the morgue attendant at midnight there, sitting at a desk reading whatever paper, she ran up behind him and beat him on the neck hard as she could. Scared him half to death. He jumped up and ran out of there. Well, that bite was lethal. Within 15 minutes, he was dead. He had the same urge as Wanda. He wanted to take and find his master, which was Carol, which was fast asleep in her little cubby hole down inside the Marta little workstation there, her little home. And she didn't Carol didn't know, but over the night, thousands of people were bitten. Thousands of people were running around looking for her, looking for her. And then cops come out trying to shoot them. Didn't do any good. A bullet would go right through them, but the people were already dead. They were looking for Carol. All these people. And every time they run across somebody that wasn't dead like them, they would jump on them. Soon groups were jumping on others and biting them. And 15 minutes later, they all were looking for Carol, their master, to find out what to do. Carol woke up the next day about 9 o'clock. She got to sleep in on her day off. And she decided to go down to the little Waffle House there and get her something to eat. But as she come out of her little safe apartment, underground place at little 5 points there, she started walking towards Waffle House. And she noticed the commotion all around. And all these people running around looking, biting, and fighting with everybody kind of spotted her. They started running towards her. But Carol didn't know what was going on. She turned around and ran. She ran back down to the subway, back into the workstation, to her little apartment. And all these people were looking for her. They were dead. She was their master. Little does she know, but on that night, everything stopped in Atlanta. Thank you for listening. There'll be more of this later on.